Welcome back to our channel, your ultimate destination for the most explosive updates from the glamorous and cutthroat world of Los Angeles. Today is a thrilling day to unpack the latest catastrophic developments that are shaking the very foundations of our favorite fashion dynasties. Let us dive straight into the heart-stopping drama that just unfolded on the runway. The atmosphere inside the grand venue was nothing short of electric, pulsating with the kind of high-stakes anticipation that only a billionaire like Bill Spencer could manufacture. The debut fashion collection of a newly minted Logan brand was supposed to be the ultimate crowning achievement for Katie Logan Spencer. Billboards across the globe were broadcasting the event live, projecting an image of unstoppable power, limitless wealth, and flawless aesthetic brilliance. The runway was bathed in dazzling lights, illuminating the exquisite designs that were meant to serve as a definitive declaration of war against Forrester Creations. For Katie, this night represented her emancipation, her moment to step out of the shadows of her legendary family and establish herself as a formidable titan in the fashion industry. The champagne was flowing, the elite of Los Angeles were in attendance, and the air was thick with the intoxicating scent of victory. Every detail had been meticulously curated by Bill to ensure that the Logan brand would instantly eclipse their rivals and dominate the global market. Standing at the podium, Bill Spencer was the absolute picture of arrogant triumph. This was his element, the exact intersection of corporate dominance and public adoration that fed his insatiable ego. As he looked out over the sea of reporters, fashion critics, and industry insiders, he prepared to deliver a speech that would cement his legacy and publicly humiliate the Forrester family. He spoke passionately about his unwavering devotion to Katie, painting himself as the loyal champion who had finally given her the platform she so richly deserved. His voice boomed through the state-of-the-art sound system, dripping with the kind of supreme confidence that only a man who believes he is entirely untouchable can possess. Bill was basking in the blinding glow of his own perceived invincibility, completely unaware that the very foundation of his empire was about to be violently ripped out from under him in a matter of seconds. The psychological high he was experiencing was absolute, making the impending fall all the more devastating. The seamless perfection of the evening was abruptly shattered by a sudden, chaotic commotion at the main entrance. The heavy double doors were thrown open with a forceful bang that echoed over Bill's booming voice, instantly drawing the attention of every single person in the room. Walking down the center aisle, cutting through the crowd of stunned elites like a vengeful ghost returning from the grave, was none other than Shauna Fulton. Her arrival was a seismic shock that sent immediate ripples of confusion and frantic whispers throughout the venue. Shauna's expression was a terrifying mask of pure, unadulterated fury and steely determination. She did not look like a woman who had come to beg for a job or pitch a business proposal. She looked like an executioner arriving to deliver a fatal blow. The sheer audacity of her crashing this highly exclusive, heavily guarded event was staggering, leaving the security team temporarily paralyzed by the sheer magnitude of the disruption. Before Bill could even process the reality of her presence, Shauna had already closed the distance to the stage. She did not politely wait for a pause. She aggressively commandeered the moment, her voice cutting through the stunned silence without the need for a microphone. The flashing bulbs of hundreds of media cameras immediately pivoted away from the runway models and locked onto Shauna, sensing the explosive nature of the unfolding scene. Bill's arrogant smile vanished instantly, replaced by a rigid mask of shock and barely concealed panic. Katie, standing just a few feet away, froze in place, her eyes darting between her husband and the woman who had just hijacked the most important night of her professional life. Shauna stood tall, her eyes locked on a Bill with a burning intensity that seemed to drain the temperature from the room, preparing to unleash a torrent of accusations that would forever alter the landscape of their lives. With the entire world watching via the global live stream, Shauna Fulton unleashed a devastating verbal assault that struck at the very core of Bill Spencer's character. She loudly and fiercely accused the billionaire of utilizing despicable, underhanded tactics and wielding his dark, corrupt power to forcibly exile her and her daughter, Flo Fulton, from Los Angeles for years. Her voice trembled with the raw, agonizing emotion of a mother who had been pushed to the absolute brink by a tyrant. She painted a horrifying picture of a man who operated above the law, a ruthless dictator who used his vast fortune and endless resources to terrorize two vulnerable women into silent submission. Shauna did not hold back, ensuring that every reporter in the room captured the visceral pain and righteous anger radiating from her every word. She was systematically dismantling the carefully crafted image of the benevolent businessman that Bill had just spent the last hour trying to sell to the public. The most chilling aspect of Shauna's public execution of Bill's character was her detailed recounting of the threats he had allegedly made against her daughter. Shauna boldly claimed that Bill had promised to completely and utterly destroy Flo's life if they ever dared to set foot in Los Angeles again. She described a campaign of psychological terror, a constant, suffocating fear that had dictated their every move while living in forced exile. The audience gasped as Shauna detailed the lengths to which Bill was willing to go to protect his own interests, treating human lives as nothing more than disposable pawns on his corporate chessboard. For a mother to stand before the world and confess the agonizing helplessness she felt while trying to protect her child from a billionaire's wrath added a profound layer of tragedy to the scandal. The media devoured every syllable, their cameras capturing the raw, unfiltered agony of a woman who had finally decided she had nothing left to lose. But Shauna was not finished. The true bombshell, the revelation that sent shockwaves through the industry and the Spencer family alike, was her assertion regarding the motive behind Bill's tyrannical behavior. She furiously declared that Bill had orchestrated their banishment and threatened Flo's very existence solely to hide a horrifying, unspeakable secret from his past. The room erupted into a cacophony of shouted questions and frantic speculation. What could Dollar Bill Spencer possibly be hiding that was so catastrophic it required the forced exile of two women? Did it connect back to the infamous Baby Beth scandal, a dark chapter that had already caused irreparable damage to so many lives? Or was this something entirely new, a skeleton in Bill's closet so deeply buried and so intensely sinister that its exposure could result in criminal charges or the complete collapse of his empire? Shauna dangled this mystery before the press, weaponizing the unknown to inflict maximum damage on Bill's psyche and his public standing. Within seconds, the highly anticipated Logan brand debut mutated into the absolute worst public relations disaster in the extensive, controversial history of Spencer Publications. The global broadcast, originally intended to showcase beautiful garments and corporate synergy, was now transmitting a live, unfiltered corporate assassination. Social media platforms exploded with trending hashtags, viral clips of Shauna's furious accusations, and endless conspiracy theories regarding Bill's hidden secret. The carefully orchestrated narrative of Katie's triumph was entirely obliterated, replaced by a sordid tale of blackmail, corruption, and dark power. The investors, the buyers, and the elite clientele who had been sipping champagne just moments prior were now witnessing the spectacular, fiery implosion of the man who had invited them. The Spencer PR machine, usually a formidable force capable of spinning any narrative, was completely paralyzed by the sheer magnitude and public nature of the ambush. Amidst the flashing cameras and the deafening roar of the scandalized crowd, Katie Logan Spencer stood frozen, a portrait of absolute devastation. This night was supposed to be her ultimate victory, her grand emergence as an independent powerhouse. Instead, she was forced to watch in horror as her husband was publicly exposed as a manipulative, threatening monster. The betrayal she felt in that moment was profound and suffocating. She had trusted Bill, had allowed herself to believe in his redemption and his promises of a stable, loving future. Now, As Shauna's accusations echoed in her ears, Katie was forced to question every single thing she thought she knew about the man she had remarried. The sickening realization that Bill may have been hiding a horrifying secret, and that he was capable of destroying a young woman's life to keep it buried, threatened to shatter Katie's fragile world into a million irreparable pieces. For the first time in recent memory, the legendary dollar bill Spencer looked genuinely terrified. The stoic, impenetrable facade of the ruthless billionaire cracked, revealing the panicked, desperate man underneath. He tried to step toward the microphone, attempting to issue a booming denial, to summon security, to do anything to regain control of the narrative, but the sheer momentum of Shauna's attack had completely overwhelmed him. The media sharks smelled blood in the water, shouting questions over one another, demanding answers about Flo, about the threats, and about the dark secret he was allegedly harboring. Bill realized with a sickening jolt that his vast wealth and corporate power were entirely useless in this specific moment. He could not buy his way out of a live, globally broadcasted confession. He was trapped on the stage of his own making, forced to endure the agonizing destruction of his reputation in real time. The catastrophic fallout of this event extends far beyond the walls of the Spencer and Logan households. Over at Forrester Creations, Ridge, Steffy, and Brooke are undoubtedly watching the live feed with a mixture of shock and opportunistic glee. Bill Spencer had been waging a relentless, aggressive corporate war against their family legacy, attempting to poach their talent and steal their market share. Now, the architect of their misery was self-destructing on the world stage. The irony is as delicious as it is dangerous. The Forresters will absolutely weaponize this scandal, using Bill's exposed corruption to discredit the Logan brand and reclaim their position as the undisputed kings of the fashion industry. Steffy, who has always harbored a deep-seated hatred for the Spencers, will likely use this as definitive proof that Bill is, and always will be, a toxic, destructive force that destroys everything he touches. The presence of Wyatt Spencer in Los Angeles adds a deeply troubling layer of complexity to this unfolding nightmare. Wyatt was the one who recently returned to town, and it is highly suspected that he was the one who secretly facilitated Shauna's chaotic return. Did Wyatt know about the threats his father allegedly made against his former fiancée? Is Wyatt actively participating in a calculated, revenge-driven plot to destroy his own father from the inside out? If Wyatt is complicit in orchestrating this public execution, it represents a level of familial betrayal that could permanently sever the Spencer bloodline. The internal dynamics of the Spencer family are now a ticking time bomb, with Liam likely caught in the middle, horrified by his father's alleged actions, but equally devastated by the possibility that his brother helped light the match that burned their empire to the ground. As the dust settles on the most explosive night in recent Los Angeles history, the future of every major player hangs precariously in the balance. How can a newly formed Logan brand possibly survive a scandal of this magnitude right out of the gate? Will Katie find the strength to walk away from Bill, or will she be dragged down into the abyss alongside him? And perhaps the most pressing question of all, what is the horrifying secret that Bill Spencer was willing to destroy lives to protect? Shauna Fulton has ignited a firestorm that cannot be easily extinguished, and the truth, whatever it may be, is bound to cause even more collateral damage once it is fully unearthed. The battle lines have been redrawn, the masks have been violently ripped away, and the fallout from this unforgettable fashion show will undoubtedly shape the destinies of the Logan